Imagine you're a police officer, and the year is 2025. You've just driven to a house near campus in a college town to respond to a noise complaint. And yes, in fact, you can tell that there is loud, what sounds to be live music coming from a residential backyard. Yet as you draw closer, you realize, hey, wait a minute. You actually recognize the song from your high school years. Nice, you think to yourself. They sound just like the band. Then, as you knock on the front door and are led to the backyard, you see for yourself. Holy crap, it's actually them. The All-American Rejects. That really happened to police in Columbia, Missouri. They even allowed the band to play a final song before they ended the concert. Why? Because the sergeant knew exactly who the band was and listened to them a lot while he was in college. This video is for that police sergeant, who was clearly an elder emo himself, who must have driven home that night with his brain flooded by dopamine and serotonin, as he sang to himself and basked in the sweet warmth of nostalgia. Surely, as he pulled into his driveway that night, excited to tell his wife all about the encounter, the thought crossed his mind, whatever happened to the All-American Rejects? How did they go from being our dirty little secret to a band we would just move along from? And if they're being spotted playing in backyards like yesterday, are they back? This is the timely story of the All-American Rejects, the band that came out swinging into the big leagues of pop rock, sat out for several seasons, and is right now in the midst of a massive comeback. The All-American Rejects story begins in the very place we find them now, at a house party, in the musically isolated town of Stillwater, Oklahoma. A tall and lanky teen named Tyson Ritter volunteered to be the bouncer of a high school kickback. He watched from the sidelines with his arms crossed, trying to look like a tough guy, and yet he couldn't help but sway his shoulders back and forth a bit. The band playing in the backyard was good. Yet he noticed they didn't seem to have a bass player, just guitars, drums, and vocals. He saw an opportunity. After the show, he casually approached Nick Wheeler, the group's guitarist, to humbly offer his services, despite the fact that he didn't actually know how to play bass. And sure, he lied, but Tyson Ritter learned quickly. The two began to write songs together and made several attempts to form a band, but none of the friends they invited into the group ever stuck around. As a duo, Ritter and Wheeler wrote the 12 songs that fans would go on to call the Blue Disc, as it was self-titled. The two high school boys collaborated on the name of this duo project, each offering up their own fragment. Wheeler suggested All-American, and Ritter added Rejects. And they moved on, completely unaware of how fitting the name would become. The two guys, only 14 and 16 years old at the time, played their songs every week at the local college bar and began to build a small following. They recorded the EP Sane Girl New Songs in 2001 and sent it off to New York's Doghouse Records, where, as if by some great prophecy, the disc was snagged out of a trash can by an intern and shown to the owner. The band was signed in 2002, and they re-recorded all of their songs for the debut album, The All-American Rejects, with Ritter providing bass guitar and lead vocals, and Wheeler on guitar, drums, and backup vocals. The band added a rhythm guitarist, Mike Kennedy, and a touring drummer, Tim Campbell. Unfortunately, Campbell clashed with the band and was replaced by Chris Gaylor. After a couple of album release shows, the boys hit the road with Motion City Soundtrack and North Star. In the midst of touring, their album got the attention of DreamWorks Records, who signed them in 2003. A massive redistribution of the album took place. The album peaked at 25 in the Billboard Top 200, and the single, Swing Swing, was given a cinematic music video that made it an instant classic. The video introduced the world to the abundant charm of this small-town band with universal appeal. Scenes of rural, lower-class living, trailer park love, and a band with a frontman who resembles Clark Kent. There's just something about the All-American Rejects that felt instantly relatable. Swing Swing felt cozy and nostalgic, like a snow cone on the 4th of July, yet poppy and energetic like the feeling of riding bikes with your childhood crush. The song and the accompanying video capture young love in all its fearlessness and vulnerability, in a way that would prove to be the hallmark of this new band's sound. The song turned the band into overnight stars, and suddenly, they were everywhere. They appeared on The Late Late Show, TRL, The Tonight Show with Jay Leno, and even got the chance to play at the '03 Vans Warped Tour. Capitalizing on their little slice of American Pie format, they followed up with another video for the song The Last Song with scenes of football fields, classic cars, and sprawling freeways. And the song was just as catchy as Swing Swing. The band continued to strike a nerve directly within the mainstream of American pop music. Their popularity was beyond anything they could have possibly imagined, but frontman Tyson Ritter was feeling like an imposter. Where did the band fit in? Their songs were already staples of mainstream radio, but on the road, they struggled to find their scene. They were alt-rock with a pop-rock lilt, which was at odds with most of the bands they toured with. So which crowd was their home? Pop rock? Emo? Emo adjacent? They lacked any sort of edge, sure, but they were loud and anthemic, and while they were polished, they weren't manufactured. At the end of the day, they were still a very green new band, and the guilt of having a status he felt he hadn't earned was weighing heavily on Tyson Ritter's shoulders. Did he really belong? And did he have enough talent to just fake it till you make it? If you're caught pretending to be good, just pretend to be great the second time around. In July of 2005, the band released the sophomore record, Move Along. And just like the first album, it instantly found its way into the zeitgeist. The album would sell 90,000 copies in the first week, and eventually go on to be certified triple platinum in the US. Dirty Little Secret became the absolute coolest song on the radio, and the video helped it completely blow up. Every would-be lover boy in the world claimed it as their personal anthem, and burnt it onto CDs to give out to the girls they wanted to have a secret fling with, which is to say that the song itself had a sort of currency. The second single, Move Along, went on to be the #1 song on Carson Daly's TRL Countdown 4 days in a row, and its chorus was yet another to get stuck in nearly everyone's head. Then Tyson Ritter decided to take his piano out to the desert in the music video for It Ends Tonight, showing anyone who had paid attention to the band that they could write intoxicating power ballads too. It was a trio of singles that helped make the band ever present, and cemented the band as one of the most important of the era. By March of 2006, the All-American Rejects were playing to sold-out arenas with Fall Out Boy, and from there, the touring schedule only ramped up. They made an appearance at Bamboozle Music Festival, played a slew of college campuses, and formed their own headlining tour, the Tornado, with help from the Starting Line, Motion City Soundtrack, Gym Class Heroes, and The Format. They released a DVD of the tour, similarly titled Tornado, and wrapped up 2007 by returning to The Tonight Show with Jay Leno to perform their third single, It Ends Tonight. If all of that sounds like the absolute best-case scenario for a band looking to prove their overnight success was no fluke, it was. But internally, the band was feeling crushed by the expectation to write more hits, so much so that the music no longer felt honest. So they decided, if they were going to write new music, it needed to really mean something to them. To do that, the band decided to take bold, drastic new measures. They needed to escape. They created their best album to date. The only problem was, the fans disagreed. To write the songs that would make up the third record, 2008's When the World Comes Down, Tyson Ritter and Nick Wheeler took off on solo camping trips in separate directions, certain that the great open skies of the North American continent would speak new truths to them. I think When the World Comes Down has been a journey, Tyson Ritter told Pop Matters in 2009. I think I was most questioning life when I was getting off the road with Move Along, and this record was therapy. It's everything I needed it to be for me. Right now, we're living it, and we want it to match or beat the success of Move Along, Nick Wheeler added. But even if it doesn't, it's still the best record we've ever made. The album streamed on MySpace on December 15, 2008, then released the following day, with 10% of the profits going to the Feed the Children charity. Lead single Gives You Hell became the band's most successful single to date, peaking at #1 on the pop music charts of Billboard.com. What's more, it became the most downloaded song on iTunes for the year 2009. And just to make your head spin a bit more, as of 2024, the single has been certified 9 times platinum. That's 9 million units sold. The band stretched the success of the single as far as they could take it, and toured the US, Canada, and Malaysia with bands like Taking Back Sunday, Weezer, Hoobastank, Blink-182, Shiny Toy Guns, and Anberlin. But when the second and third singles failed to make much of a splash, The Wind Blows and I Wanna, respectively, the band felt like they were riding an artificial wave. There was no momentum, no buzz, and the guys were exhausted. In October of 2009, the band had to cancel several shows due to a leg infection suffered by Tyson Ritter, who had recently undergone a knee surgery to remove a tumor. Unfortunately for Tyson, when it rains, it pours, because around this time, longtime girlfriend Kim Smith a popular music video actress, broke up with him, and he didn't exactly deal with the breakup well. Turning to alcohol to help soothe the burn of heartache, the band's frontman started to fall apart. What's worse, it was about time to start writing a new album. And as for inspiration, new ideas, Tyson had nothing. The songs told a story about rebuilding just before the band fell apart. Fourth album Kids in the Street came out in March of 2012 and received a lukewarm reception from critics. Yet for the band, it was the most important thing they'd ever written, because it's what pulled their lead singer away from a life of squalor. Conceived in secluded forest cabins in Maine and Illinois, it took several fruitless efforts before Ritter and Wheeler were able to break their writer's block. Ritter realized that to write the album, he would have to look inward and to tackle his demons head-on. Speaking about the experience to Billboard, Ritter was forthcoming about his temptations. Women and exes, getting into trouble, pouring too much Jamesons into the old noggin. Of course, it was destructive, but it wasn't really intentional. I was just having fun. It was fun, and coming out of it, thank God for the piano. The album takes several steps away from the sound of the three previous albums, marked by experimentation, increased keys, orchestra-style vocals, and a maturity that, unfortunately, distanced them from their fans. While the band would continue touring as before, Tyson caught the acting bug, and much of his attention went to being a recurring character on the Amazon Prime series Beta. Having already broken through with smaller roles, such as a cameo appearance on House, a small role on the NBC drama Parenthood, and even as Emma Stone's love interest in the comedy House Bunny, Ritter was slowly developing into a working actor. By 2013, the band was unofficially on hiatus. No breakup, no tabloid arguments, just radio silence. And it would remain that way until 2017, when the band released the two-song EP, Sweat. While a new album was rumored, nothing came of it. Again, the band came out of hiding in 2019 to release 3 singles, and maintained somewhat of an online presence during the COVID-19 pandemic. Yet, in November of 2020, when asked about a new album, Tyson Ritter shot down the prospect, saying, "It's not likely that the band is going to make another record anytime soon, if ever." For fans of the All-American Rejects, it seems the only place to see Tyson was in movies and TV shows. Years passed by without much mention of the band, and the fans wondered, did they miss something? Like, did something happen? Or were the All-American Rejects just not going to say anything and quietly disappear? Oh my god, they're back. They're really back. In 2022, the band, like so many from the early 2000s heyday of emo and pop rock music, joined the When We Were Young tour, and just like that, the flame was lit anew. In September 2024, the band reappeared with a cover song, Harvey Danger's Flagpole Sitta, and started right away to tease a new album. On April 24th, they released the music video for the forthcoming album's first single, Sandbox, which is already sitting at 1.3 million views on YouTube. And in early June, they released another single and another video for the song Easy Come, Easy Go, which sounds genuinely like a proper alt-rock banger from the 90s. And though the fans have been falsely misled to believe a 5th album was on the way several times before, this time, it's actually going to happen. It has a name, Sandbox, and a release window, January 2026. The All-American Rejects are back. Remember the house party that was shut down by police earlier this year? Well, that wasn't just a one-off. In fact, it was part of the secret backyard show tour. The shows, which are pop-up in nature, have taken the band to stages in backyards, college campuses, barns, and even a Minnesota bowling alley. Shout out to Memory Lanes in South Minneapolis. The grassroots approach seems to be working, as videos from the shows have gone viral on TikTok. While many things have changed since 2005, it would seem that playing house parties and connecting with the youth is still the best way to make a buzz 20 years later. And if that wasn't Gen Z enough, Tyson Ritter has also begun a more intimate venture to connect directly with his fanbase, on OnlyFans. Speaking to GQ, Ritter said fans can expect full frontal rock and roll with all access. I'll leave it to the vagueness of that statement to define itself. So it would seem that the focus has shifted away from stadiums and radio charts and onto genuine connection and authenticity. The band is through with expectations, and they don't seem to care if the new music isn't poppy enough for some, or if it sounds different from the old stuff. They just want to rock, and if you've got a backyard and some extension cables, you might want to reach out to them. chances are they'll be down to come play at your party. The All-American Rejects never did seem to fit the emo or pop-punk scenes of their day, but they still managed to make music that found its way onto the soundtrack of our lives. Their talent for writing complete earworms with the power to get stuck in your head after just one listen made them a welcome part of an entire generation's coming of age. The songs were always wholesome, relatable, and fun to sing along to. In a time where listening to music that was too soft, too metal, too emo, too poppy, or too contrived got you made fun of, the All-American Rejects made music that was pretty agreeable across the aisle. Like so many of the bands we write about on this channel, there was a time when the All-American Rejects had just sort of fizzled out without a warning. Tyson Ritter leaned into his worst proclivities and nearly lost his drive to be frontman. Then, after pulling himself up and out of the gutter and using the experience to fuel a more mature sound, few were there to listen. The band lost momentum, and if that had been the end, it would have been an anticlimactic yet all too familiar one. Yet, here we are. The All-American Rejects are back. We couldn't be more excited about it. So instead of writing a feel-good ending that pays homage to the glory of music and the memories tied to them, we mark this one to be continued. What do you think of the new songs? And are you excited for the new album? Do you prefer the poppy goodness of the first two albums, or do you think When the World Comes Down and Kids in the Street deserve more praise? And are you going to admit that you're curious about Tyson Ritter's OnlyFans? Comment below. Make sure to like and subscribe so you never miss our weekly emo and punk band retrospectives. And make sure you get out to the bowling alley or to your local mall. You never know where the All-American Rejects will play next. Curious what happens when a band quietly fades away, but never comes back? Check out our video on Sugar Cult, the pop-punk sensation time forgot.